Good morning, everyone. 52 minutes after 9 on this beautiful looking Thursday. Hope you guys got some rest. Hope your week's going well, getting ready for the weekend. We do have a nice, at least warmer setup as we head into Saturday. But there are some changes that we're going to discuss today on the weekend setup and the long term as well. Hello, everyone. I'm wave meteorologist Brian Good. Welcome to SnowTALK. Hello, Carrie. You were first. You're waiting today. You knew I was going to be a little later, didn't you? You had a feeling. Well, Weather Geek. Hello, Angie. Sean, I'm watching from Middletown. Hello, Angela. Hope all is well. All right, let me get into the news that I'm not so sure you're going to be thrilled about. Snowboard's empty. Yeah, I had to do that. Only because I'm not as sold on it being likely within the Thanksgiving window, but we're close. But I would rather wait to see how much of a dynamic setup and change we're going to be going through the next couple of weeks to get a little bit more of a date range anyway on that. I'll explain, and the map I'm going to show you will explain why this is taking place here coming up in just a few moments. All right, let's get you in the short term, as always, at least get you set up for today into the weekend. Because, again, as I mentioned, there have been some modest changes there for the weekend. I'm going to make sure we cover. Okay, so right now, high clouds. They're going to be around today, much of the day, in fact. So kind of a hazy sky, filtered sunshine. It's hard to see hazy sometimes in the cooler times of the year because everyone's like associates hazy with hazy, hot, and humid. So the summer, filtered sunshine is what you hear a little more this time of the year. But anyway, it's technicality. 45 outside. It was cold this morning. I had frost outdoors this morning. I hope you guys got your ice scraper close by to take care of that. All right, the highs recently made it to 63 yesterday. Oh, yesterday was so nice. So Carrie, I saw your comment earlier about that. It was really nice. Wait, whose birthday is it? Sean, it's your birthday? You're going to a concert, Sean. Well, happy birthday. Which concert are you going to? You don't have to tell us if you don't want to. You don't have to tell us if you don't want to. All right. 60s, again, today, by the way, are on track. You can see the high clouds drifting in as we're just not getting enough of the clouds lit up by the somewhat higher angle of the sun this time of day now. We can see them moving through. So, yeah, again, filtered sunshine type of setup today. And with highs into the 60s. Let me get right into Futurecast, and I'm going to move this along here today. I'm not going to waste a lot of your time because tomorrow we're going to go a little more in depth. So I want to make sure to at least get you the nuts and bolts of where we're at here today. You can see the high clouds around today, no problems. Tomorrow, the only thing about tomorrow, it'll look similar as far as sky condition goes, but we will have at least a chance for a bit of sprinkles. Not really drizzle, more of a sprinkle type of setup, as there's just enough lift happening outside tomorrow to allow for there to be at least some rain that will form on the radar. Whether or not some of that makes to the ground, a little questionable. Either way, it'll be about this time. It'll be late morning through lunch tomorrow, and then that wave will keep on passing on by, and it'll be by. And that's the warm front that sets the stage for a warmer setup in the afternoon. It's certainly warmer as we head into Saturday. However, it's very short-lived because our next front is moving in Saturday night. Now, here's where there's a bit of a change. It's been showing up. This is a very fast-moving system. We've been talking about how fast it just dives across the Great Lakes, Northern Branch feature, zips on by, right? Well, it's moving in a little faster. I was worried this was going to happen on its speed, as Northern Branch features tend to change more often than a southern system will on speed, and this one certainly did. So it's getting a little faster. So because of that, it will have a little bit more of the warmth of Saturday to work with. That may be just enough to allow there to be a little bit more of a reaction on the radar a little earlier into Saturday evening, not so much Saturday overnight. So we'll be watching this and see if, I don't think it's settled yet, but we're getting close. I mean, we're within 48 hours, right? So we should start seeing this start to lock in, but it's still been shifting just a tad bit, but just be aware there could be some light showers, maybe a little bit of thunder. Yeah, I mean, there's a bit of cape that shows up. I'm not going to rule it out as it moves into the area Saturday night, early Sunday. Very, very patchy. It's very quick. I mean, 2 hours of it being on the radar in general, and then it moves in and moves on out. It will drop the numbers down slightly on Sunday. I don't think it's going to be a huge drop, though. I mean, you'll notice a change just because the air will be drier. So it'll be drier, a little bit more of a northwest flow coming in. So you will feel the difference compared to Saturday, but it's not like a huge drop in temperatures coming, and we're going to get into the deep freeze for the second half of the weekend. Very mute setup from one day to the other, which is another reason why it's not a huge front to deal with when it comes to severe thunderstorms or anything like that. It doesn't have that much of a difference other than humidity levels and moisture levels. That's about the only thing. And even that, it's not hugely different. Okay, so just be aware of that for the weekend. Otherwise, we're still on track for warmth. Then we get into next week. Oh boy. Okay, so next week, here's a couple of things to point out. First off, for Monday into Tuesday next week, we are dealing with a very tight gradient right into this box here. We're going to hold on to the colder flow, that northwest flow that arrives on Sunday, mainly for the upper portions of the Ohio Valley and the Great Lakes. At the same time, this system is trying its best to fight into that. And it's like, it's my turn. So it's trying to fight into that zone. But this cold air is I like to always say, cold air is lazy. It's heavy. It does not want to move out of the way. Unlike warm air, it's a little faster, probably younger. I don't know, but it's not as old and I guess slow and heavy pace to it as cold air certainly is. But it will be a fight that will increase the wind, and it will create a very wide range here on how things will evolve into Tuesday. The GFS continues to try to show there will be some snow that will try to mix in and around Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. I do not see that here still. I think that's going to be north of us. Why is it showing that? Because the air is so dry from the front moving in this Saturday night into Sunday. Because it is so dry when it moves in, you got a lot of evaporation. That causes the air on the leading edge of the next system to cool. And because of that, it's trying to blanket the leading edge of it, having some wintry weather with it. And that's why the GFS has been steady on this. The Euro actually is trending toward the GFS, which is interesting. So it's trying to lean toward its shoulders here on this idea. But I think it's fair. It's a setup that makes sense that there will be some wintry weather on the fringes of it. But again, that will be north of us. What is interesting about that, though, is because that is there, it makes our weather stand out a little more. And what I mean by that is we could actually get some thunderstorms. You see the cape that builds in with our section of it in the Ohio Valley, pushes into southern Illinois, Indiana, and Kentucky. So you may have some rain and thunder, not exactly warm, by the way, like 50s with rain and thunder. So I'm not worried about severe weather with this. But you don't have to go far. I mean, you can get a car and drive a short trip, and you'll run into some wintry weather as you get toward Indianapolis or even north of Cincinnati. So very interesting system, nothing major, but it is just meteorologically, it's interesting. That's the only sign I see of anything wintry that gets close to us. Because after that, we're going to run into a very busy setup where it is just non-stop low pressure after low pressure after low pressure. And they're mostly all below 1,000 millibars, which means they're got a kick to them. Each one of them do. And there's about a 36-hour gap in between them. And I see them going all the way until the 1st of December. Whew, it's going to be busy. So I hope you are going to enjoy the somewhat dry stretch we're in now, because it will not be as lengthy as what's coming our way. It's going to be very active on a daily basis. SnowTALK will likely come back into play as we head into next week. We may have to do a mix of storm, and I'll still do SnowTALK to give you a long-term aspect, but SnowTALK is going to get involved next week. So kind of a heads up. But it will be active, showers and thunderstorms rolling through at times. You'll have gusty winds, and you'll have some warm surges, a slight temperature drop, but nothing drastic. All right, it's all going to stay in liquid form here. It's just going to be nonstop. Tuesday, as I mentioned, is one day we'll watch, but also next Thursday night into Friday is one that timing matters here. Absolutely matters. So if this tries to stay more nocturnal, try to get it late Thursday night and Friday morning, we'll have a tamer version of what this could be. If it speeds up and it's more Thursday afternoon, I'm a little concerned that this could mean a little bit more of a severe potential on the area for about a week from today. So this is the best candidate right now for a potential alert day in the 10-day that we're watching. Once we get past this system, as I mentioned, we don't have a lot of time to relax because we get a small little break, maybe 30, 36 hours, and then here comes the next one. Each one of these, what they're doing is not only building the snowpack across the Rockies, which is good, builds it really across the Midwest into Canada. This is all the step down process that leads to the active weather that we'll get into more so likely December than we will for the end of November here. But either way, the stage is still set for a colder pattern coming our way. So this is a little misleading, and it's going to play a mind trick with a lot of model watchers out there. And I see all the discussion that's out there. I know there's a lot. Everyone's kind of arguing back and forth. Oh, it's cold's coming. No, it's not coming. Yes, it's coming. Anyway, it's not worth stressing over on that. Just know that you got to look at the pattern, not so much the modeling, as you'll see in a second. I keep alluding to that, but I'll show you. You got to look at the pattern. The pattern still favors a significant blocking, which is already happening next week, but that will eventually just tip over and we end up with a weaker polar vortex that comes into play. But it doesn't happen fast. It always seems to be slow when we have this kind of a change that is a little long lasting. The last one we had earlier, which was earlier this week, it's hard to already remember that, it was fast. It moved in and moved out, but it wasn't a full pattern shift. It was a very temporary disruption. What I'm talking about that will be the flip that we'll see is one that can last certainly more than 2 days. It could last up to 2 weeks when you have that kind of a flip. That's what I'm concerned about that we'll still run into down the road here, but not in the immediate future. Okay, so again, next Thursday, a week from today, that's what we'll be watching, but we will have some rain and thunder even with the early week system next week on Tuesday, just because of the dynamic setup, as I pointed out. Here's what's interesting, too, is looking at the wind field from the Euro. This is where, again, we're here at the ground level, way up here's where the planes fly. So we're looking for any time the wind that drops down, the jet structure, that's when you have a chance to push some of this down to the ground level and you get into some severe. It is going to be windy. We can see that for this Saturday with that warm flow in the 70s. There is a pocket of wind ahead of that front that moves in Saturday night. So, yeah, breezy, but nothing excessive. And even the one on Tuesday, yeah, not bad. I mean, it's a small little dip and nothing major. This, though, now we're getting into a problem. Now we're pushing down more than 50 knot winds into the lowest 1 to 2 miles of the atmosphere. Now we got a little bit more of a concern here for some severe weather that shows up. So that's where we'll be watching is really this signal here that dips down for later next week. But here's the problem in the modeling. As we evolve down the road, these are all, by the way, from the Euro for the very end of November. The ensembles are pointing to a colder setup that is starting to advance at this point, right around the 28th through the 30th. It's now starting to push in from the northwest, and the flip is beginning. The actual run of the Euro holds on to the warmer weather in the southeast corner and colder into the Rockies. And then the AI version of the model has a much more dramatic cold blast rolling in, tucking under one of the stronger low pressures that moves by. So kind of a rain to snow type of deal, if you were to look at that verbatim. So they're all three showing different ideas, yet it's all from basically the same model, just different ways to get there. So they're struggling, and that's not too shocking because it is a very dynamic pattern. So you're going to get very wild extremes. The ensembles is usually the easier way to go just because it smooths out the chaos. The top left box does. It smooths out all the extremes and tries to give you a general idea. But I do think that the one on the top right is fairly accurate. I think that is what we'll likely face to close out November before we see some changes into in December. So, yeah, we're going to have some alert days due to severe weather before we have to deal with alert days with snow. I'll put it to you that way. So here's the 10-day. We got the temperatures in the 60s next couple of days, 70s, and then that drop Sunday into Monday, leading to some rain and thunder there on Tuesday. And then right now, we'll go with about 40% on the thunderstorms and warm us up. This could trend warmer on temperature and higher on rain chance for sure. And in fact, it has a high likelihood it will. And You can see the drop though behind it. Still not crazy, right? About 60 in behind it. So there's not a huge drop still happening behind these systems. So that's why we're not dealing with anything on the hugely on the wintry side yet. Any questions on this that I can try to answer? Because I know it's confusing and it'll take some time to sort out. Travis, severe weather outbreak for the for the south next week. Yeah. I think this is going to be an impressive, we call it mid-latitude cyclone that moves in. Watching Carrollton. Hey, Dave. Hope all is well. Dave and Jean. Angela, I'm happy to wear sandals again. Yeah, I get it. It's tough because you're like going from these milder days into these the colder ones. Not bad for a 10-day in November. It really isn't bad. I just wish it wasn't so active, Adam, because my concern now is a pretty obvious one, is that we're getting into a very busy travel time. So now that we already have some constraints, obviously, on air traffic, you add in a very busy weather pattern, you've now accelerated that even more. So my concern is that travel this year is going to be a lot tougher to deal with than in the past year. So I do think we're going to have some issues on travel. So if you are one that's going to be traveling at a decent distance, especially by air, boy, you really need to watch this pattern because and plan ahead and pay attention. Traveling by car in a shorter distance, no need to worry yet. We got plenty of time. I got a spammer. I haven't had a spammer in like forever and ever. Miss Zombie on Twitch right now asking about the where'd your comment go? Oh, there you are. About the Northern Lights. Well, last night, as we talked about how the Northern Lights sometimes only get a 30-minute heads up if it's going to be good or bad. And yesterday it came in not great, but it was visible in Kentucky last night. It just took a while. Tonight, even the main solar flare itself, the wind that came in, or we call the corona mass ejection, technical name. You'll see CME a lot on a lot of social media posts. But anyway, that is already passed. So you may get some hints, but not here. It'll be far, far north. So unfortunately, we'll have to wait. But again, it's like trying to predict an earthquake. It's not easy to know when it will happen or how bad it would be. But there are ways to find out, but it's very short term on finding out. Imagine dealing with space weather all the time. Whew, bad enough trying to deal with earth weather. Okay, I think everyone's all right. Oh, and maybe your question real quick. Family traveling to Tennessee for Thanksgiving. It's going to be active, Nancy. I don't see anything wintry, but it's just a matter of will it be active with heavy rain or severe weather or thunderstorms? I don't know, but it will be an active week. And Christian, no active or no real cold weather. No, not really, not yet. We'll get there as we evolve into time, but not in the near term at all. Pretty standard stuff. All right, guys, I'm going to run tomorrow. Again, we're going to discuss more long-term data that comes in, and I'll try to give us a little bit more of a range on dates where at least I will be tomorrow in my thought process on when the flip will happen, if you're concerned about that down the road. Otherwise, the main focus, again, tomorrow will be on where do we stand on the timing of these systems and any severe potential that continues to show up. So buckle up, guys. It's going to get busy, and it's going to be kind of a roller coaster ride. So stay close to the forecast because I'm telling you right now, it's going to be changing often into the coming days. All right, take care. I'll see you guys coming up on the flip side.